Hello and welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. Thanks for joining us. Right now we are on the phone with the governor of Oklahoma, Mary Fallin. Governor Fallin is one of several surrogates for the Romney campaign, behind enemy lines, as it were, in North Carolina. Governor, thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be with you.
Well, glad to have you. Last night, Michelle Obama's speech had some folks in the audience in tears. Still today, reaction is mixed. Was the speech politically masterful or, as some have said, untrue and ridiculous?
Well, certainly Michelle Obama gave a moving speech from the standpoint that she talked about her husband. She talked about some of the early years of their life and challenges that they have. But, you know, she said a couple of things that really stuck out with me. She says, being president doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are. And so I think it was a very accurate statement that being president has revealed about President Obama's philosophy, his vision for America, which is totally different than what Governor Romney would do for our nation. You know, President Obama has talked a lot about government and how government affects our lives. That was one of the main themes last night that we heard, that government is the only thing we all belong to, was in a video they showed last night. And Mitt Romney believes that it's the people who are the ones that make America great, not the bigness of our federal government. She also talked about how Barack has lived the American dream, yet when Governor Romney has worked very hard to build a career, to provide for his family, you know, they belittle Governor Romney and his achievements. So it's interesting to hear their view on America and where our nation needs to be going.
And what do you think that this last nearly 4 years in the White House have revealed about President Obama?
Well, I think the last 4 years have revealed several things. President Obama promised that when he got into office, he would cut the deficit in half. And, of course, we've seen what he's done with government spending, how government spending has grown so much under his watch, how the deficit has gone up to now that we're at $16 trillion of debt. He didn't cut the deficit in half, like he said. In fact, he added another $4 trillion of debt onto our nation. Now we have the weight of the federal deficit not only upon our generation, but on future generations of children to come. President Obama said that he was going to bring hope and he was going to bring change. And, of course, we've seen a lot of Americans that have lost hope. We have 23 million Americans that are unemployed or underemployed. We have seen the median household incomes drop by $4,000. We've seen students that have graduated from school and graduated from college not been able to find a job, having to move back in with their parents because it's just a tough job market. So many things that he talked about have not come back to what he said it would. And, you know, I think we have to ask our question, are we better off today than we were when he took office? And I think the answer to that is no.
So in other words, do you feel like that President Obama failed to live up to his promises, was unable to live up to his promises, or he was more intentionally misleading the public when he was campaigning as then Senator Obama?
Well, I think he failed to live up to his promises, and frankly, I think he has a different vision of where he wants to take America. I think he truly believes that the solution to many of our issues facing our nation is government. That government intervention, whether it's in our health care system, whether it's in energy policy, whether it is in the marketplace, such as with picking winners and losers in the energy sector or companies like GM, I think he does believe that government's the solution, whereas Mitt Romney puts his faith in the people of America. He believes in free enterprise, the entrepreneurial spirit, and frankly just government getting out of our way so that we can create jobs, build a stronger, more vibrant economy.
Now, let me ask you, in comparison between Mrs. Obama's speech and Mrs. Romney's speech, who do you think was more effective in reaching those critical, undecided women voters?
Well, both of the women talked passionately about their husbands, about their early days of their marriage. They're both certainly good fathers that love their children. But once again, I think it comes down to a different philosophy, a different vision for the future of our nation. You know, Michelle Obama talked about the different programs that President Obama has brought to our nation. She talked about, I remember her saying that President Obama had increased student aid for students going to college. But if you'll look at the real policy implications of what President Obama has done, college costs have gone up by 25%, and American families are having trouble being able to afford going to college. I already mentioned last night that President Obama had cut taxes, but yet we've seen massive new taxes that have gone into effect with Obamacare. He's certainly talking about raising the estate tax. The alternative minimum tax is hitting American families this year, and he's not been able to implement the Bush tax cuts again. So it's been interesting to see how they think they're doing one thing, but yet the reality is that they're taking the nation in a totally different direction.
Now, last week in Tampa, we saw how Republicans put the diversity of the party on display. So far, we've already seen some primetime speeches from San Antonio, Texas Mayor Julian Castro, and from Mrs. Obama. Now, from what you've seen there on the ground in Charlotte, are Democrats trying to upstage the GOP's diversity?
Well, I've had the opportunity to go to the Republican convention, and I've been here at the Democrat convention a short time as a Romney surrogate. And, you know, at the Republican convention, we did see women, we saw men, we saw a lot of diversity of the speakers, and they were people who were actually in elected offices. Here at the Democrat convention, they certainly have, from what I understand, readjusted their speaker lineup, their messaging, since they saw that the Republicans truly are the face of America, having so much diversity and bringing different cultures to the stage, whereas I heard the Democrats had changed the different speakers and readjusted what they were going to be talking about. But it's real with Republicans. You know, we have twice as many women governors as a Republican Party than the Democrats do. We certainly do have Hispanics. We have two Indian governors that are currently Republicans serving in office. You know, we are the face of America, and it's something that comes natural to us. We're a party of all people.
The Democrats removed all references to God from their platform. They also came out in support of gay marriage. Do you think that this has hurt Democrats in states like your home state of Oklahoma and perhaps in states like North Carolina come November?
Well, I do think it will hurt Democrats in states that are conservative like Oklahoma, which have a deep, abiding respect for the Constitution, for faith, for family, for military strength. You know, when the Democrats decided to change their platform by the removal of God given potential, which is a phrase that was in their platform. They took God out of that and replaced it with other language. And, of course, in their platform, they have removed Jerusalem as the capital of Israel as acknowledgement of that. And at a time when Israel is certainly a wonderful ally, key to Middle East peace, a nation that has stood with the United States. And it certainly is surprising, shocking that they would take such strident points, and certainly, as you mentioned, support of gay marriage. They have mentioned more in their platform about further gun restrictions, restrictions on Second Amendment rights, and of course have attacked energy and fossil fuels and those type of things in their platform. And you know, I know in the state of Oklahoma that doesn't bode well, and that's why Governor Romney right now in my state has a huge lead over President Obama.
Yeah, Oklahoma not in a lot of danger of going for President Obama in this election. We also heard today that President Obama's speech has been moved from the outdoor stadium there in Charlotte inside to the Time Warner Center, a much smaller venue. Do you think Democrats are more concerned about the weather or the empty seats that we would probably see if that speech were in fact inside the football stadium?
Well, I think the Democrats are concerned about the lesser crowds that they're going to be seeing to watch President Obama when he gives his speech, and that's one of the reasons why they moved it to a smaller venue. I mean, obviously, if you think there's going to be a lot of people, you keep it at a big venue, but now they moved it to a smaller venue because they are anticipating there's going to be smaller crowds. You know, I've heard some stories here at the convention that there are some conservative elected officials that have not come to the convention, don't want to be a part of the Democrat convention because they're concerned about their own reelection and showing public support for President Obama and his policies.
All right, well, let's talk about football a little more. The Dallas Cowboys, America's team in your neighbors to the south are playing the Super Bowl champs, the New York Giants, tonight for the first game of the NFL season. Who do you think is going to get the bigger audience tonight, the game or former President Bill Clinton?
Oh, boy. Well, it's going to be a hard choice, especially down in my area of the nation, down around Oklahoma and Texas. You have two superstar football teams playing, and of course our Cowboys and the New York team will certainly be a big draw for people to watch tonight. It's going to be hard to see. It'll be interesting to see what the ratings are tonight when the speeches come up in the Democrat convention and when they have to choose between good old American tradition of football or presidential election.
I think a lot of people will be interested to see who gets the bigger audience tonight, and we'll have to check on that. I want to thank you, Governor Mary Fallin of Oklahoma. It's been great talking with you, and thanks for being back with us here at Newsmax TV.
Good to talk to you, too. Thank you for what you're doing.